I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello, this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Teen News. Hello. Happy Monday. Welcome to Black Teen News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about Benny Johnson and the controversy of when he invited Andrew Tate to come on his podcast and some things that were said there and things that people are talking about and how Benny tried to push back against it. And it's all very nonsensical. And I can't believe, since he and Trump's lawyer have such close proximity to the president, why they'd want to entangle and say some of the things that were said on the podcast, especially with Trump's lawyer being there fawning over him. So there's bad things that are going on. So that's the main story of the day. I also want to talk about the looming TikTok ban. And I also want to talk about how Gavin Newsom is preparing $50 million to combat Donald Trump and the DOJ when they come in, presumably to fight about immigration and deportations and things like that. I assume if anything related to abortion gets done, they'll probably do lawsuits and stuff there. I mean, Trump got sued a lot by different folks. So it just kind of seems like there's more important things going on in California. Maybe you can guess what that important thing is, but that's who these people are. So, they were planning on trying to do that kind of stuff before, I think. And it's just, I don't know, insane. These people are insane. These people are insane. But before I jump into everything, I encourage you guys to go to blacktonews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktonews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and run my website, all that good stuff. You guys can also do super chats if you're watching on YouTube, on Facebook, you guys can send stars, or if you're watching back later, you guys can still send stars on Facebook, but on YouTube, you guys can send stickers and stuff like that. Best way to support is on the website. And speaking of content that's on the website, I did drop an article about Kamala Harris, because someone left a video like, why don't you like her? Because I don't know, maybe they feel that I'm poking too much fun at her or whatever. So I made plenty of content about it, but I went ahead and tried to put it down in an article. And I did share an article that I wrote over the weekend, since Trump was, officially a felon, is officially a felon now. The article is, they treat Donald Trump like that. They treat black men, which wasn't something that I pointed out and made up, but a cousin of mine who is a black Democrat who does not vote red, obviously, had mentioned that once I explained the Alvin Bragg case. So if you think the title is kind of jarring, just go ahead and actually read the article and you'll understand the story and the breakdown and everything like that. So I encourage that you guys read it and catch up on other content on the website. I'm working on another article right now that is pretty interesting. Late last night, I was watching this Jubilee video with Lila Rose. I don't know how long it's been out. It was the first time I saw it like pop up on my feed and stuff. The weekend I was not really zoned in on media and stuff like that, because me and my sister were like fasting and stuff together. So I wasn't like as active and stuff as I usually am, just for like just kind of really important stuff. But other than that, I didn't see anything. Now it's like flooding my feed. So maybe it just popped up. I don't know. Maybe they just posted it the other day. I don't know. But I just decided to watch all of it. At first I didn't know if I was going to get through all of it because some of the women were raging and said just typical talking points, weren't really thinking things through, and very hyper emotional about stuff. And I did end up watching it. It was kind of like a car crash at first, but Lila did a great job. Lila Rose did a great job. And one person named Dana was the calmest, had a very a calming voice, great tone. She didn't raise her voice like other women did. She didn't really go off on her in the aggressive manner that other people did. Though she did, get emotional, but you know, she just imagine if a guidance counselor, like the sweetest kind of guidance counselor, kind of like lulled you into a going off session or something. That's kind of how Dana's voice was. And so she helped to counsel women who were victims of abuse. And she herself had had an abortion in the past. And Lila decided to talk to her at the end of the show when you can pick anyone and have a 10-minute conversation and you have to debate their prompt. So her prompt was, the number one thing in this argument or something is bodily autonomy, which they didn't really. Lila could have gone into some scenarios or probing questions. They could have easily debunked her prompt. But the conversation was interesting, but it wasn't like, I'm destroying your prompt. But it ended to a place where Lila had asked how she felt, if she thought that well, it was a question about how much rights like the infant should get in the womb. I forget completely how it got to that point, but she asked her if Scott Peterson, who killed his wife Lacey, who was 8 months pregnant, and he was charged for both deaths, did she think that he should have been charged for both deaths? And she said no, because that was a clump of cells. We're talking about an 8-month baby. She said it was a clump of cells. And people, I don't know how many people got to the end of it, but that end was a whopper. And they interviewed people at the end, asked how people did, like, oh, Dana was great. Dana was great. I'm like, Dana like gave the whole game away. Dana like ended up saying the darkest, most evil thing that was said in that broadcast. An 8-month baby. That's like, and you just want to refer to them as a clump of cells. 8 months. 8 months, guys. So as long as it's not born, then doesn't have any rights. And so I had talked about it. I wrote like a quick summary thought thing on Facebook and YouTube about it. Some people are like, man, that was wild. But when she said that, but it's not really that wild, because back then the pro-choice, I mean, it's a wild opinion, but pro-choice lobbyists, activists, they did not want the Unborn Victims of Violence or some act of 2004. I don't know if that's word for word what the act is, but George W. Bush signed it in 2004, and they did a carve out for abortion, cowards. But that was a response to stuff like that, if you harm an infant like that in the womb, then you should be charged for that crime. Pro-abortion people didn't want that to pass because they don't want anything close to acknowledging personhood. And there's other instances like that. Like there was a woman in Colorado years ago. I'm trying to look for the stuff on it, and then it's on my computer. I'm using my sister's computer, but anyway, her name will be in the article that I'm working on. But she was at her literal last fetal appointment for her baby. Her doctor said she had started to dilate. This baby was ready to come out. She was going to name her son Brady. She leaves the place. And then a drunk driver with multiple DUIs hits the car, and she survives. Her mother survives, but her baby, who is ready to come out, her body is preparing to push him out, He did not survive. And they wanted some kind of justice for their son, not just him getting in trouble for the crash and stuff, but a life was actually lost there. And the abortion lobby, they're like, we can't do that because we can't give you something that would make it so that the preborn get an inch closer to personhood. So there was a bill that, and I just read the bill like a couple of minutes ago, and all it was saying was that if there's some kind of if you kill an infant, like in the preborn, not an infant, but a preborn, that a prosecutor can charge, with those crimes on top of other stuff. And you had Planned Parenthood and other women's groups come and say, no, we don't support this. And then one of the leaders of the women's groups, I watched the hearing. She's like, we're sorry that for your loss, but for the loss of your baby, but we can't allow this to happen, basically. And then one of the legislators was like, okay, you just called it a baby. And she's like, well, I'm not a professional speaker. I must have misspoke. I'm like, okay, what is it? And they're like, she lost a pregnancy. So she had to reel that back and just say that she lost a pregnancy. So it's, anyway, when people say things like that, the premise of the article will be this. And again, it's not out yet. I'm working on it. Probably done, I don't know, tonight. Maybe I'll post it tomorrow. I was trying to get it done today. But the point of the article will be, all the time I hear people say, and people tell me when I have these conversations, whether it's back and forth in videos or live or whatever, people ask the question, if I have an abortion, how does it affect you? If a woman has an abortion, how does it affect you? It doesn't affect you, blah, 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 blah. There's plenty of reasons why that's stupid. Just, if you murdered your 2-year-old, that probably wouldn't affect me too much either. Doesn't mean it should be legal. I don't know your 2-year-old, like, I'll think that's terrible. That's horrible. But it's not gonna do much for my day to day. But you still shouldn't be allowed to do that, and I still think that's an awful thing, and it should still be illegal. How dare you do that? So we can stand up for injustice even if it doesn't directly benefit us. That's a really dark kind of question, I think. I don't think people realize how dark of a question that is. But I argue, and I've argued that there's societal harms to this, and this is an extension of that argument. But this gets to a very specific point. Their ideology demands that the preborn are dehumanized, and it demands that we deny them rights, that we discriminate against them, and we deny them rights. Therefore, if you get into a car accident, you might not get justice. Not a car accident. A multiple DUI person hits you. You lose your baby. It's, oh, you just lost a pregnancy. Oh, that's just a clump of cells. It doesn't matter that you were dilating. We can't, sorry for your loss. That sucks for you. But you can't get justice. If sorry, your boyfriend drugged you and it caused it caused, the tissue to exit your vajayjay. Sorry about that. That sucks. You want to get him for like assault or something? That's the best you can get from us, because that was a clump of cells. Oh, sorry. The clinic dropped. I mean, not the clinic. The clinic that was supposed to be watching your embryos. Remember that story? Alabama Supreme Court. Remember? I'm sorry. The clinic came in. Sorry, the clinic wasn't watching your embryos. The doors weren't locked or whatever. And then a random person came in, removed the embryos, and dropped them. Sorry, you lost your kids, and other parents lost their kids. We don't like it when they're called children. The Supreme Court made the right decision, and everyone flipped out about it. This was clearly a negligent clinic who didn't do their due diligence, who should be able to be sued under the Wrongful Death of a Minor Act. But people were so mad. It didn't even talk about personhood. But they said this is a threat to IVF clinics. They have to close down. It's like, wait, why do they have to close down? Because parents say, hey, you have our children. You're supposed to keep them safe. If you don't keep them safe and you're negligent, I should get the chance to at least sue you. Why would that destroy the IVF industry? We should ask questions. But the pro-choice lobby was furious at the idea that even in just civil law, we could acknowledge that these are children. So your wanted baby isn't allowed to be a baby, isn't allowed to be a child, and certainly isn't allowed to be a person, because that is a threat to abortion. So anyway, didn't mean to rant that long about it, but that's what I'm working on. I'm also going to reply to the video, the entire Jubilee video, and the entire video is like an hour and 40 minutes. So it's going to take a while. I'm going to probably just record them in segments and put them out accordingly. And but I think it will be interesting to reply to each commenter and each argument that they're making, because all of them say different stuff or whatever. That's kind of the same old, but it's just fascinating. Like I said, it was kind of a train wreck. At first, I didn't know if I could watch it all, and then I'm like, okay, I got to get to the end. And it was fascinating to see how Lila would handle everything. I did think she potentially could have been in trouble when they started talking about criminalization, but fortunately for her, the woman she was talking to who pressed her about it was deranged. So I think she got clear over that one. So anyway, yeah. Watch out for that kind of content on the website. I see you, Anna, on Facebook. How you doing? Thank you guys for watching live, and to those of you who will watch back later. Okay, so let's get to the meat of the story. So Benny Johnson announced last week that he was going to have on Andrew Tate. And if you don't know Benny Johnson, he's a lot more famous than I am on the right. Like, he has a lot of followers, millions of followers and stuff, and been around the game for a while. He does consulting work too. Like, he's done some pretty viral videos for candidates and other stuff like that. Interviewed a lot of people, have the ears of a lot of folks on the right. So he decided to curiously have on Andrew Tate on a show, and some people were pretty upset about it. And the first tweet that I saw regarding it was a bunch of retweets from folks. And the first retweet I saw was Seth Dillon from the Babylon Bee, and Seth was like, don't you have daughters? Like, why are you doing this? And so a lot of people might be unfamiliar with Andrew Tate. The best thing you could probably say about Andrew Tate is that he's a pimp. But there's very serious allegations against him that have not just all gone away, by the way. It's still, things are still being, court cases and other things are pending, but he's not scot free and clear of grooming and trafficking and rape allegations and all that kind of different stuff. I know people like Candace Owens has interviewed Tate and tried to, I don't know, rehabilitate, gloss over things that happen. What Do You Meme is an account that looked at her interview with Andrew Tate and really, really ripped her a new one for how she interviewed Tate. But when she first met him, her assistant was Romanian or whatever, and could figure out that he was a pimp. But her husband is good friends with Andrew Tate even before he'd be like famous or whatever. So I don't know what is all going on behind the scenes with their relationship or whatever, but some folks on the right have been cozying up to him for a while, and I don't understand. So anyway, people are like, you have daughters, why would you have them on? and so on and so forth. So they're supposed to come on and talk about Trump being felon and all this stuff. And so it wasn't just Andrew Tate. One of Trump's lawyers, Alina Habba, was on there too. So it's there's some troubling moments, especially with her being Trump's lawyer, from their interaction and stuff on the show. But um he got a lot of blowback from people. He got a lot of blowback. And so some of the blowback from people, you know, was stuff basically people calling him out for having on a pimp and someone who was a trafficker and all this other kind of different stuff. So Benny decided to start trying to go the free speech route to justify himself. So I know I bookmarked something. Let me. So he started trying to go the free speech route with his justification for all this stuff. So he said, if you're upset that people you disagree with have conversations, you need to find a different year to live in. It's 2025. Censorship and deplatforming is dead. People can think for themselves. We are free. Grow up. And people had all kinds of different things to say. David Wood, if you don't know David Wood, he has the most incredible testimony that I've not maybe the most incredible testimonies I've ever heard of, as far as coming to Christ, but it's pretty amazing, at least as far as modern tales. So I would go look him up and look up his conversion story on YouTube. But he used to be an atheist and he's like a psychopath. But he found the Lord. Anyway, if you're upset that people you disagree with are calling you out for promoting a sex trafficker, rapist, grifter, you need to find a different year to live in. It's 2025. Censorship and deplatforming are dead. People can think for themselves. We are free. Grow up. And David has done content on Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate did convert to Islam. I don't know how serious he is about it or how much of it is a grift or whatever, but his reasoning, which David points out in his video, and he has receipts and stuff, he preferred that Islam and Muslims, and this is his reasoning. You don't have to get offended with me for him pointing it out. He respects the fact that they're feared because they'll resort to violence. Like that's why he prefers Muslims over Christians. So it's the kind of dude he is. So other folks have, different criticisms that are along the lines. So what I have to say about this post here from Benny is that you can platform whoever you would like to platform. And I don't think it's necessarily wrong if you want to interview Andrew Tate. But I think it's kind of messed up to not mention the elephants in the room and to make an opportunity, especially since you love President Trump so much and you respect him so much and you want him to do what's best for the country. I just would think that you would want to minimize as much blowback as possible. So to not create a situation where Trump's lawyer will be on the same episode as Andrew Tate. And a lot of this is her fault too, because she said the stuff that she said, and she engaged and said that she was a fan of his and stuff. So she's an adult, she's a grown woman, and she made her own errors. So it's a trinity of stupidity. But it's a bad look. It's a bad look to have someone who's a sex trafficker and all this stuff, and at the very least, let's say things that he's accused of isn't true. There's still a lot of stuff on video of him talking about how he came up with his cam girl business, about how he would groom girls into doing cam work for him being violent toward women. That's him talking about that kind of stuff. So at the very least, there's lots of content about him doing certain things that are unseemly that I just the proximity with Trump's lawyer and Andrew Tate, I just would not create that kind of situation if I really cared about, if I really cared about the Trump and the right and all that stuff. So he can platform who he wants, but the slobbering and over Tate and stuff, it's not a good look. But people can obviously combat what you do and criticize what you do, and criticism is not censorship. It's just more speech. Criticism is not censorship. It's just more speech, which people in the right wing who are commentators, that's so much of what we do is just commentating, giving our opinions on stuff, and they're not always happy stuff. Okay? So, um people can think for themselves. We are free, but one person who watched the episode, she didn't know anything about Andrew Tate and thought some of the things he was saying were good, because he'll go on different broadcasts and portray himself different ways to different people. If it's a bro kind of broadcast, he'll go and highlight that he's a degenerate. If he's going on a conservative podcast, he'll try to be on his best behavior. So after a lot of these conversations continued happening, she was just appalled that Benny had him on. And so that's really the real danger of situations like this, because they have such a big audience, and then they introduce the good behavior Trump to a lot of people, and then maybe they go on and follow him, and they're like, oh, this was a nice chap and stuff, and he's a pimp, guys. He's very charismatic and knows how to appeal to different audiences. Okay, so I get how he's good at running his scams, but I would like to think that some of these folks on the right are smart enough to avoid that kind of stuff, and I think Benny probably is. So what's the point of having him on? Is it just, I don't know, clicks and money? And I don't get it, but it does compromise Trump. So let me see if I can find that tweet from that fan. Trying to find that tweet over the weekend that I just referenced. Yeah, here we go. He said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so upset. I watched the live with that man and I had no idea about him. I feel so violated. His words were inspiring to a point of him going past believing civil and addressing a lying media and corrupt government. But the actual thing I see is he just may not be civil at all." So I don't so Benny tried to combat all of the aggression he was getting online um that by writing, "He who is without sin first to cast stone." At first he posted Christ is king, though. That's what he posted first, and people's response to the Christ is king comment was, you guys can't just post Christ is king when there's some kind of controversy and just throw this up there. And different people said, if Christ is your king, then let him be your king. It should be evident. It's not just a slogan. It should be evident in your life, how you choose to live out your life, how you choose to live out your business, how you choose to run your platform, and everything should be Christ is king over your life. It's not just a slogan you throw up to get a couple of likes and clicks and high fives from folks, or to shield yourself from criticism. It just God ain't had nothing to do with you bringing on Andrew Tate, bud, or whatever. Maybe you're trying to change the narrative, change the conversation. I don't know. So then he moved to, "He who is without sin cast the first stone," and he got community noted for this. Jesus said that this when forgiving a woman about to be stoned for adultery, but called for repentance, saying, "Go and sin no more." And I had retweeted him and said, "Go and sin no more." That's the next part. Andrew Tate has never experienced expressed any repentance. Recently, he also refused to accept a woman's apology for comments she made about him. So, yeah, and there's more stuff beyond that. Like there's actual comments of Andrew Tate uh talking about stoning women. So let me see if I can find that. Yeah, Misfit Patriot has been on it. I really going after Andrew Tate. Now let me say this. I don't know a lot about Misfit Patriot, but I am aware of Misfit Patriot because, and I was going to do a video on this. I just haven't done it yet. But Misfit Patriot got into a fight with Bryson, the rapper, the Christian rapper who did the song for Am I Racist movie, because Bryson is very in your face Bible. Like, you know, you're going, this is evil, that's evil. I'll call it out, blah blah blah. So he's very open about being against gay marriage and stuff like that. And I don't know what Misfit Patriot sexuality is, but he has gay friends, and he decided to fight Bryson for it, punched him, and then it became a whole big ordeal. And he defended himself punching him. I don't think you should punch people in the face because of how they hold their biblical views. Bryson didn't start any violence, bruh. So I don't think he's some kind of saint on the right who likes to stand up for free speech and what is right and what is good. Like, I didn't forget that. So there's that beef is fresh in my mind. So I just wanted to point that out. But anyway, he's been on Andrew Tate, and he had criticized him, and Andrew Tate had retweeted and was like, "Hello, Jew," just getting his anti-Semitic crowd, I guess, to go after these people. And so here's a clip that he posted about Andrew Tate.
Imagine a Muslim wife sitting there in her burqa trying to say this crap. But the way I was feeling different inside, and I had to psychological you get stoned. You're about to feel something, a rock in your face. Imagine a Muslim wife sitting there.
Yeah. Laughing about Muslim women getting stoned in the face. So he had retweeted that. That was his response to Benny Johnson saying he who was out sin cast the first stone with this whole Andrew Tate situation, which, by the way, I haven't seen Benny express any regret or repentance about it being a bad decision. I've just seen him double down on it. And if he wants to double down on it, he can double down on it. But people can also double down on them being upset about it. So there's really no repentance or change of bad behavior, as it is what it is. And if you feel strongly about it, you go on with your life, bruh. But people are going to openly talk about what upsets them. People with daughters are going to be upset that a trafficker and a groomer is making headwinds and has made a lot of headwinds on the right. They just are. Okay? They just are. But here's the bigger issue, I think. Like, all this is bad on Benny's part, I think. And I understand people's criticism of it. Whatever. I'm just floored about Trump's lawyer here being on the show. Here's a little tiny snippet of something that she said, but I'm going to play another clip too.
It's a disgrace what they're doing. Obviously I don't know the facts of your case, but I know that it probably wouldn't be happening if you were not yourself. And that's very similar to my client. And just,
well, you're
Okay, so she told Andrew Tate, I don't know the facts of your case, but it probably wouldn't be happening if you weren't you. Well, that's at least true, because if he wasn't him, then he wouldn't have done the things that he did. And then I guess bragged about it everywhere on camera. You know? Why would you say that? Why would you say that? You're not just a person. You're a woman. You don't know anything about the facts of the case. Anything? You don't know anything about this guy? How you don't know anything, but you said that you were a fan. She said, "I'm a fan." Okay? There's a clip of her saying that she was a fan. Huge fan.
Hi.
Hello, Alina.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice
Big
to meet
fan.
you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump. You're doing more important work than me.
America, not just Trump. And I agree with everything you just said. And I think that your anger is the same that President Trump has for our country. And the time is now for us to stop being wimps. I think that's exactly the right sentiment. And I also have to say that I sympathize with you, because I think you go through a lot of the same, show me the person, I'll find the crime that President Trump has gone through. And
Hello.
Okay. How does she know that? Okay, why? Okay, why is she a fan, but she doesn't know the facts of his cases? You know, or just, you don't, forget the legal stuff. What about the things that he said about how he's made his money, which is the cam girl business? You're cool with that as a person, as a woman, as a lawyer for the president-elect and former president? So either you don't know the facts, or you do because you know him and you like him so much. Like, is that just flat? What is it? Where's the truth here? But let's say you don't know the facts of the case. Why would you say something like, I don't know the facts of your case, but I'm sure they're just doing it because of who you are? You don't know that. That's an assumption. You're basically saying there's nothing of substance there. And to compare him with, she compared his situation with Donald Trump. Show me the man and I'll show you the crime. They're doing all this lawfare stuff against Trump, and they're doing it against Andrew Tate. No, no, sweetheart, no. There's evidence. There's evidence. And then there's bragging about things that are on video. So if you are blind or just dumb enough or dishonest enough to believe that Trump is just, that Andrew Tate is just a victim and folks are just coming after him and he's done like nothing wrong. If you believe that, and then you compare him with Trump, that's your argument. Andrew Tate is innocent, just like Donald Trump is. Can you see how there's issues there and problems? Can you see how the people ought to question your judgment or your honesty in these situations? There were other incidents and stuff that I read about concerning her with other trial stuff with Trump that I just didn't think that she was probably the best, I guess. But this reminds me of when Nick Fuentes went to Mar-a-Lago with Kanye and Milo. And I was so furious. I was so furious. And that could have ruined his election chances. I can't believe more people didn't mention it. I know Obama mentioned it like at the tail end of the election and stuff in a rant where he's like piling a bunch of different things together. And I know, like, during that black journalist interview, whatever. I think that was mentioned. But you know what? The problem with the left is what they always do. They'll mention they might mention something that's genuine, but they'll pile it on with a bunch of like crazy off the wall stuff. Like they'll mention that maybe he had dinner or whatever with Nick Fuentes, but they'll also mention the Fine People hoax and stuff. So, it gets lost in the sauce with a lot of dishonest stuff. But Kanye was saying a bunch of crazy stuff at that time. And, Milo Yiannopoulos, very controversial, and Nick there. So it wasn't good that they were there at Mar-a-Lago, and it was a bad look for Trump, definitely. And I was just so upset that they would put that mark on Trump, that his staff would allow that to happen. I'm like, where are his people? Why are they letting this happen? Why? So, where's Susie Wiles? Why is she like not reining in these folks? Like, I know she has other things to worry about, like staffing and administration or whatever, but I just would be like, bro, you cannot do stuff like who, like, this should all filter through someone. Like, oh, you have a media guest appearance somewhere? Okay, well, we have to vet who's going to be the guest. Oh, no, you can't go on there. Like, that's what should happen when you're in some kind of organization with so many things on the line. Anna doesn't know who Andrew Tate is on Facebook. There's a lot of people who don't, and there are people in Benny's audience who don't know. So Andrew Tate he was a kickboxer who got very rich doing internet cam businesses. And when I say cam businesses, he would groom girls and have them be his, like OnlyFans kind of stuff. And him and his brother and then a team, they would be chatting up with girls and stuff. The girls wouldn't even be chatting with people, whatever. They'd be doing all the work themselves. And they would convince poor suckers to give them money. And there's all kinds of videos with him talking about him being a pimp and talking about violent things against women and stuff. And so there's allegations from women about them being groomed and trafficked and beaten and sexually abused by Tate and other allegations. So in UK and Romania. So those cases are ongoing, and when he got like arrested for this stuff, the timing was interesting because he was really coming out talking about a lot of COVID stuff. And he got really, really famous going on a lot of different podcasts. A lot of them were left-wing podcasts. And he would say his technique or whatever was to say a lot of things that were true, but to say them in the most offensive sort of way. So people would be arguing him about something that maybe if they thought about it deep down that they might agree with. And he was going on a lot of left-wing podcasts and stuff. So a lot of, I don't know, people on the right have kind of latched on to him a bit because he diss feminism and he'd talk about masculinity, but he, it's a really, really toxic form of masculinity. It's a subversion and a disordered version of what I believe masculinity is created for by God. It is good to be strong and so you can be a protector, but you're supposed to be a protector of women and not an abuser, and you're supposed to build and not basically encourage people to be scumbags and destroying stuff. And he's someone, same thing with Pearl Davis. Like, they can say some things like broken clocks are right, unless you're like a digital clock that's just like off, but just like turned off or whatever. But I guess the analogy really only works if the clock has a face. But they can say things that are true, but their prescriptions for society are just degenerate behavior. So that's why I'm not a fan of Pearl and a lot of these red pill guys. And so he's also says he's a Christian. I mean, he says he's a Muslim and that he used to be a Christian. I don't know at what point, a period in his life that, he was striving to be holy or whatever, but I don't know. But the reason that he gave was that uh Muslims basically are feared and respected because they're willing to commit violence. And as I already mentioned, David Wood has some good videos with some receipts there, because other stuff got deleted if you try to find different clips. But he has a video detailing that stuff. So also there are some people on the right who did decide to cover him after he got arrested and stuff. Amidst that time, and like Candace Owens interviewed him, but her husband has a cozy relationship with him. They've been friends for a long time. She gave him really a softball interview and left out details and even attacked some of his victims or alleged victims rather. And what do you meme he's a Christian podcaster, but he went over some stuff about how she left out a lot of details in their interview, and just kind of he'll go on, like he said to her, and he'll go on the right and say that he's changed and he doesn't do the cam business stuff anymore, but he stopped doing the cam business stuff in 2022, and now he does like Ponzi schemes with Hustlers University and stuff like that. So he's very charismatic and he's a grifter who knows how to make money. And there's other grifters who are comfortable being around Tate, I guess, because they'll also make money. He has a lot of popularity, but he also says a lot of crazy things as well. Very provocative stuff. Like someone was complaining because he said something about Tate, I guess, and Tate blew up a picture of his child that he posted online and was talking about how ugly his child was. And then other people, of course, online and his comments stuff were talking about the ugly child. And over the weekend, he did a long rant video and he's sitting in a hot tub and he was like, your child is objectively ugly. Like he still kept talking about it and stuff. So, he's just not a good dude, but I mean, he was uplifting of Yahya Sinwar, who's the leader of Hamas. I can only pray for death as heroic. I can only pray for a death as heroic as Yahya Sinwar, brave, defiant, in the face of the evil, and dedicated his life and dedicated his life's purpose. He deserves eternal rest. He earned it. That's what he said about the leader of Hamas. So, wild stuff. So, I don't like that Benny had him on. Benny can do whatever he wants with his platform, but people can use their platforms to criticize Benny. Again, criticism is not censorship. It's not deplatforming. And you can choose to have whoever you want on your platform, and people can approve and people can be upset about it. But when you bring people on like Tate and you don't go into the kind of their nefarious background, you're exposing your viewers. Like I had a viewer who said that she didn't know who Andrew Tate was. So if I had on Andrew Tate and we were just talking about free speech and he was on his, best behavior, and I mentioned all this stuff, they probably wouldn't know that stuff. And they'd be like, oh, Christina's a good girl. She has on this guy. Maybe I'm assuming he's a respectable chap. And, that your perception gets kind of skewed based off of someone that you trust introducing you to someone else. So I think we do have responsibilities with our platforms, and he could still have him on too, because Tate says he wants to run for prime minister and all kinds of stuff. So he's kind of got new grifts going on now. I had heard that. Ben Shapiro said the purpose of that is to combat against the Muslim grooming gangs. If that's the case, like Beth Stuckley pointed out, the best way to combat Muslim grooming gangs probably isn't to vote in a Muslim pimp who's already groomed girls, and profited a lot on that. So, Benny could have at least asked some important, hard questions of Tate and really pushed him or criticized him. It didn't have to be a super friendly interview. But the thing that I think is the worst, that I've already mentioned, and I'll say this and I think I'll move on from this, is that presented an opportunity for Trump's lawyer to look like a fool for this degenerate who at the very least, let's say none of the legal stuff sticks and it all falls through. By his admission, is still a pimp. And she's saying crazy stuff like, show me the man and show me the crime, which I think is obviously the case with Trump because people are saying, vote for me, vote for me and I'll get him. That happened. We watched this stuff happen with Trump. That is not Andrew Tate's story. So don't compare the two of them, because if you compare the two of them, there's already articles about his lawyer fawning over Andrew Tate. It's not a good look. It's not good for the right, but more importantly, it doesn't service the president-elect. It doesn't. And you can say, well, Kristen, you criticize Trump all the time. That doesn't always service I'm not on his payroll. Okay, his lawyer is on his payroll. And the things that I would say are in service of him being better, doing better. This is something that it just creates bad, unnecessary stories. And I'm not saying he did anything wrong, but what is wrong with his lawyer? So bad move on Benny's part, bad move on her part. But I know they say MAGA, 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 the movement all day. So they're so dedicated to Trump. They're so dedicated to the movement. They're so dedicated to conservatism and all this stuff. Fawning over Andrew Tate doesn't help MAGA or conservatism or Donald Trump or America. It doesn't. It does the opposite. So these people. Anyway, let me move on. I want to talk about the TikTok ban a little bit. So the Supreme Court heard the arguments last week about about TikTok being banned. So Congress quickly passed a law saying that TikTok had to divest because their parent company, ByteDance, is a Chinese company and they're subject to the Communist Chinese Party, all that stuff. So they have a lot of data that, according to them, that they pull and they get from citizens and all this stuff, and it's a national security risk. And China isn't just another country; they're an adversary. So they believe that they should sell, and if they don't sell them, they're going to be banned, and that's that. TikTok has been trying to not obviously go the sale route. Behind the scenes, there are people trying to get money together, making offers and stuff. I don't know if they're going to pull the trigger on that because China doesn't want the algorithm to be sold, and TikTok isn't really TikTok without that particular algorithm. Maybe people will want to buy it without it anyway, but China doesn't want to sell that. And in court, they said, if you guys don't pause the ban, China's just going to go, TikTok is going to go dark. That could just be like posturing, a game of chicken to, make it seem like it's do or die and the justices have to vote a certain way. I don't know, but that's what they said. But I think a lot of people have been interpreting it this way, and maybe the justices interpreted this way, that you would lose all those billions of dollars. You'd rather lose all that than just sell it. Could that be because China, you're impacted by China by that degree that they just say light all the money on fire? Because it's more important that we have our spying technology. So that's how people are interpreting their refusal to sell, more than it being a game of chicken. And I don't know how the justices end up interpreting that. I saw a lot of videos on TikTok going over the details of what happened in court, and they made it seem rosier than I think it was. They're like, oh, TikTok made a lot of great points. And they made some points, sure, but the most important thing is that the justices were like, so this case is really about whether Americans have the right to have, freedom of association with a hostile, foreign government. And when you put it that way, um, I don't think the app's probably gonna be around that much longer. Brett Kavanaugh asked questions about like, hey, if they're taking all this data, what if they take it from young people now? They could use it later when they're grown and in government for blackmail and stuff. And he was someone who was they tried to ruin his life. Obviously they didn't want him on the court, but they did try to ruin this man's life over something that they alleged happened when he was a teenager. And if anyone could sympathize and be like, we need to protect our kids asking those kinds of questions, maybe it's him. So I don't know, from all the analysis that I've been watching and some of the comments, I didn't watch the whole hearing, but I don't think people are assuming that and speculating that it's probably going to be banned. It's probably going to be banned, and if it is banned, then I don't think you'll be able to access it at all if you have an iPhone. But Android, I don't think you'll be able to access it, updates and stuff like that. And eventually it'll get really buggy and stop working eventually. So you won't be able to do updates and other stuff like that. So the app stores won't be able to carry it. The only thing that Donald Trump could probably do is just say, I'm not going to enforce it, and see, I don't know if the app stores will still bother to carry it, knowing that Trump won't enforce the law. But I don't think that's a good move for him. I think it's a waste of political capital. You could say it's not a waste because there's millions of people who use the app and make a lot of money off the app and love that content and other stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Congress did pass a bipartisan bill very quickly, and Biden signed it, and it's a law. Both sides of the aisle agreed to it. So if Donald Trump wanted to make a new law that superseded that law and deleted that or whatever and saved TikTok, I don't see it getting the kind of numbers that he needs. And maybe because he's Trump and Republicans will go one way or another if he says do X, Y, and Z. Not everybody will do that. Maybe between him and the American people, maybe they can do that, but maybe they can't. Is that worth him taking the L? At the end of the day, Biden did sign it. And it still puzzles me, especially on TikTok. Why wasn't that a focal point of election conversation? Because it's not just people making content. So many businesses, small businesses, use TikTok, generate revenue from TikTok. So many people make their livelihoods from TikTok, not just content creators. And I know people, I'm like, gosh, I know they pay their mortgage with this stuff. Like, what are they going to do? And people should have been building other kind of income, passive income, and, building profiles on other websites, but your traffic just doesn't flow the same on different sites. That's just the truth. So a lot of content creators are going to be losing money, but so are a lot of small businesses who might be just flourishing off a TikTok shop. So it's crazy to me that it wasn't a question at the debate. And it's crazy to me that people didn't really hold Kamala accountable because it's the Biden-Harris administration. I don't remember her getting questions about it. They just, the disassociation from that is insane. Joe Biden signed the ban. And some of the lawyers were saying that this isn't really about data collection because other Chinese sites collect data. This is about how they don't want basically different speech to go around TikTok, and so they tried to make those kinds of arguments. And I think the reality is there's something to that there, but I think mostly the main reason why it got passed in such a uniform manner and so quickly was because once it became clear that they were passing that around and beginning to do that, TikTok mobilized its people to make calls and so on. And Congress people were getting just flooded with calls from kids. And some of them weren't so nice. Some of them were even threatening. So if you've got kids and they weren't just kids, but people flooding in your messages, including threats, and you can tell when they're leaving messages that it's a child's voice. People, sound young. Or when you got people saying, "This is all I do all day. This is all I do all day. Don't take this away from me. Don't take." That doesn't that doesn't make people feel like, "Oh yeah, we should totally protect this." It makes them feel like, on top of the data they're collecting, it's not good that the Chinese government can mobilize the people against the government in this kind of way. So I think that's also in their minds, and another reason why they're not going to win. But we'll see. Maybe the ban gets upheld. I mean, maybe the ban gets overturned. But the thing about the ban is it's not really a ban. They're saying that you have to sell. You can sell. You could save all these businesses. You could save all these content creators if you choose to sell TikTok. You could do that, but they apparently don't. So you could place all the blame on the government for making this happen, but they're still pointing the finger like, no, TikTok is willing for all of you to be unemployed and to lose money and etc. So you can be mad at us. We're thinking about the national security interests of the American people, the country as a whole. And these people who you've been in business with aren't going to do everything it takes to make sure that you're whole at the end of the day, after someone is willing to give them billions and billions of dollars. Seems kind of strange. So we'll see what happens. Last thing I want to mention to you guys is that California has put aside $50 million. Gavin Newsom in California has put aside $50 million. Not for relief for the fires and stuff. I mean, they're out there, they're working and stuff. But this particular $50 million is to get Trump, to fight against Trump. To fight against Trump. There's a nice meme here. We just appropriated $50 million for the wildfire victims, right? And then nope. Not at all. I love that meme. So people are like, for what? To combat him on whatever they feel is unjust. They're trying to Trump-proof California. So whatever he does at the federal level, they're not going to be able to impact or change their way of life in California. And that includes how they treat and keep their illegal aliens. So, their sanctuary state, if Trump wants to come in and do mass deportation or whatever, they're going to fight them tooth and nail with your tax dollars to make sure that doesn't happen. So that's why they're prepping in money and prepping possible lawsuits and other stuff like that. So when the time is right, they can sue the Trump administration. These people sued Trump when they could and would brag about it and all this kinds of stuff. You know, I've been to like Michigan Democrat stuff undercover and heard, you know, Dana Nessel bragging about like, I sued the Trump administration. You know, they get a little high, a little kick from it. You know, it's a little check next to their name, you know, it's their extra ticket in heaven. I don't know. They feel good about being able to say that they fought the man, the orange man. So, yeah, 50 million. $50 million. You know, maybe you could say it would drop with money like that flowing out of California. Maybe it's just a drop in the bucket, but that's a pretty big bucket. You know, pretty big bucket. So there's just more important things going on. So making sure that your legislature could get this money and set it aside. Just see it. So many things with the California fire stuff, like a lot of things are beyond Gavin Newsom's or local people's purview, not their purview, but things that they were outside of their control. Okay. That's true. And you have to make sure that you're prepared and ready to react to these kinds of disasters and tragedies and stuff. And I don't really think they were totally up to the task. I think, like I said, if Ron DeSantis was in Gavin Newsom's shoes and running the state, I just think that I'm not saying that there wouldn't be a big fire because, you know, wind blowing all these embers and stuff, you know, but would there be more competency in different places? I think probably. And I think there'd be more criticism and stuff from the mainstream media, whatever. Which Ron DeSantis pointed out, because people there was an interview where people were asking him about Trump coming after Gavin Newsom. And he's just like, "Are you kidding me? You guys came after me for every little thing," and he just starts naming things, and it's great. So, you know, Ron DeSantis was on it. But the thing about California is that they have so many misplaced priorities, and it makes people question their competence, especially in a time of crisis. Like I mentioned, how a lot of people keep pointing to the DEI stuff, and I'm like, that doesn't mean that the stuff going on and, you know, the problems that we say that we're seeing means that the DEI was like direct, you know, causation there. Like that doesn't mean that. But then this video resurfaces of like the deputy chief saying that, "Oh, what do you say about, are you going to be able to pick up my husband, you know, if he's in a fire, like put him over your shoulders?" And the response, instead of being like, "Of course the women train until they're able to put men on their shoulders, or we have a way that we can get them out," or whatever, they say, "Well, your husband got into a situation he shouldn't have been in or something if he's trapped in a fire and can't move." You know, if that's your response, that's obviously destroying people's confidence. And if that is the case, where the answer is you just can't lift up a husband and get him over your shoulders and out of the fire because you're weaker than men are, okay? If that is just the case, then people's lives are on the line. Your preparedness isn't there where it ought to be, and the wokeness is overcoming it. So the misplaced priorities thing is why, you know, Democrats went down in flames. Part of why they went down in flames. That's why the Trump ad for Kamala Harris, "She's for they, them, he's for us," was so effective, because it was mostly about misplaced priorities. It was about an abusive, like how you would mismanage money or whatever, but it's just misplaced priorities. Like, so there was the, you know, she's more radical than people thought, but this is where her mind is. This is how she wants to spend our money. So California, true California tradition, which is where she's from, Gavin Newsom here, these fires going on, what's in the news? How they want to take $50 million to sue a man in his administration who's not even in office yet, so they can sue him over some probably nonsense. So Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. You can go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on the website, different articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation to blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream and run my site, all the good stuff, so you guys can help. I do appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Please be on the lookout for new articles that I'm bound to post, and I will getting on that Lila Rose Jubilee reaction video. That's going to take a while to get through the whole thing, because I want to go through the whole thing, and I want to break down each segment and stuff. So it's a long video, so it'll be long commentary, and I just can't do that in one sitting, because I don't know, it could be 4 hours. You guys want to chill with me for 4 hours or something? Maybe you do, but I don't know. I think I'll just break it up. Anyway, thank you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow.